Welcome to High Drama. And what are we talking about on this show? Well, we're starting with Ed Weinberger's Two Jews Talking, or it could also be called One Jew Kvetching while the other one looks on the bright side. But there's two different sets of people in this. I mean, the same actors, but two different sets of people. So we start off with Bud, played by Bernie Kopel, and Lou, played by Hal Linden, who are taking a break from wandering in the desert with Moses. Lou is sick of traipsing about without the comfort of sandals, but at least he got to participate in the Golden Calf orgy. Bud was way in the back and didn't hear about it. Lou also isn't impressed with the 10 Commandments. He feels he could do a better job of making more practical rules. Bud is perfectly happy with the status quo and has an optimistic response to anything that Lou throws his way. Now, in the second part, we go years until we end up in the present day Long Island. There, Marty, now played by Hal Linden, and Phil, played by Bernie Kopel, find themselves sharing a park bench and their philosophy of heaven, getting old, relationships, and a myriad of other topics. I could have done without the locker room talk about sex and women, but in the delivery of two pros like Hal Linden and Bernie Kopel, it made it a bit more tolerable. This is not some Borscht Belt routine, but a real play with schmaltz and Souris. And I like this more than my friend did because he was expecting Borscht Belt, Neil Simon. He was expecting something else. And when you don't get what you're expecting, it kind of throws you. But, you know, look, you get to see Bernie Kopel and Hal Linden together, I mean, on the same stage. I mean, what can be better than that? So for that reason, I'm giving this a happy face minus.
Four Saints and Three Acts, written by Gertrude Stein, was originally an opera with music by Virgil Thompson. But the wonderful actor David Greenspan is doing basically the libretto by itself without any music, except his wonderful musicality. His voice is amazing. It can be soft, it could be harsh, it could be loud, it could be soft, it could be seductive, it could be repellent. It's really everything. He's a
plus he's got all these expressive hand motions to everything, you know, like this is Saint whatever, and you know, he gives like a certain gesture for each kind of saint, and it's very cleverly staged by Ken Ross Schmall. I hope I got that name right.
Again, we can't really give a plot for this because
it's Gertrude Stein. I mean, what do you expect? I mean,
and, without the music, it actually is much more opaque than I remembered it. But David Greenspan makes it so compelling that even though you have no idea what's going on, except for the appearance of certain characters or maybe pigeons on the grass or magpies in the sky, you really just enjoy seeing this wonderful actor going through the paces. So I gave it a happy face because I do like the opera and I do enjoy Gertrude Stein's wordplay, but really the evening is about David Greenspan. If you love him, you'll love this.
Yeah, the guy makes a specialty out of these one-person shows. And see, I never saw the opera, and probably I wouldn't like it because I don't like opera. So this was perfect for me because I de-operaized it. And again, Gertrude Stein's love of language. I mean, you talk about wordplay and puns and everything else. I mean, I was in like oral heaven here. But this is the thing that got me. I'm thinking, she's Jewish. What does she know about saints, for goodness sakes? But at one point, there's this whole mathematical thing about the saints trying to add things up. And I thought, oh my God, it's the Haggadah, where the rabbis are arguing about how many plagues there were, and it's this trouble, evil, this, and you times that by this. And I'm like, oh my God. And I started to laugh like, oh, okay, this does have Jewish overtones if you are, if you know Jewish stuff. And it's that time of year where there's a lot of Jewish holidays going on. So yes, I mean, I saw a little bit of, I got a sneak peek at this at the Brick when they did their gala. So, I mean, but to see the whole thing, it was a marvel. And it's not that difficult to get the target margin. You catch the R and it's only a couple blocks. It's not that, so I was afraid to ever go to this theater, but it's easy. So go, 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 and you will just be amazed. So happy face for me too.
Theater for a New Audience is presenting Remember This, the lesson of Jan Karski, written by Clark Young and Derek Goldman, directed by Derek Goldman, and starring the amazing David Strathairn. It's the story of a Polish Catholic resistance man during World War II who was able to observe the atrocities and the extermination camps of Polish Jews and was given the opportunity to report it to Churchill and FDR if they would listen. But of course, we know they didn't, and they weren't willing to stop the extermination when they could have. It's a tragic story, but it's really exhilarating about this man who, as a young boy in Łódź, was instructed by his mother to be a good Catholic boy and actually protect the Jewish boys of the town. So he always had this kind of spirit of understanding and helping. David Strathairn is an amazing performer. He's jumping up and down on tables, showing the effects of torture that the man experienced during the war, and later really interesting stuff about his teaching career. I highly recommend that you see this. It's a really important and great show. Major happy face.
I actually saw the original version in 2015 called My Report to the World, the story of Jan Karski. And having just David Strathairn tell us this very important story alone made it all the more riveting and powerful. It forced us to use our imagination more as he skillfully portrayed the different people that Mr. Karski encountered. This story especially hits home with me. My father was lucky enough to get out of Germany. He valiantly tried to get the rest of his relatives out, but he was stonewalled by the government at every level. He ultimately was as unsuccessful as Jan Karski. Nobody listened and nobody cared. David Strathairn is a remarkable actor, and just with a change of jacket or vest could convey the multiple people, ages, and even places. This is such an important play to see and witness. We can't let it happen again. And yet, look at Putin and Ukraine. I feel powerless against the powerful. Happy face plus from me. Khalid Hosseini's best-selling The Kite Runner has been adapted by Matthew Spangler for the stage. It follows the friendship between the high-born Amir and his servant Hassan, who is his age, and they grow up together like brothers, with Hassan slavishly attached to the fearful, weaker Amir. What happens to their friendship when confronted by the bully Asif? Things change for everyone when the Russians invade Afghanistan. This is a very timely story about immigration, father-son relationships, friendship, love and courage, and betrayal. And like everyone says, bring tissues at the end, but not just a few. Bring an entire tissue box because yes, you will cry. It's guaranteed. Major happy face.
To add on to what Eva said, this show is brilliantly taking place right now at the Helen Hayes Theater, a perfectly set, intimate experience for the show. Do not go expecting an elaborate set, but do expect some amazing acting that really transport you to Kabul. This show coincides with the one-year takeover of Afghanistan by the Taliban, so it is definitely timely. It's directly coming from the West End, limited run only. I find the kites and their projections of their tapestries to be quite beautiful as well. And the standout performance for me was Hassan.
Oh, well, for me, it was Amir because I know him from Blacklist, and because, you know, he narrates the story. So they both have to go from 12 to older, and both of them are just amazing. But yes, and Amir, you know, he has to make himself sympathetic with unsympathetic actions. So that's tough to do, I think.
I think one of the general things that about this play is the fact that it is so universal and apropos to the moment. These people were born, it takes place over an entire lifetime, over very much of Amir and his friend's lifetime. And it started out at a time when they were peaceful in Afghanistan, and he was raised well, and he was raised quietly, and was raised and educated and what have you. But we watch as, you know, gradually the world collapses around them, and we see how things can happen when ever we do not stand up for fascism, and when we do not stop these things from happening. So I think that's one of the biggest messages the play has to offer, is the fact that we better not stop fighting against these things. So I gave it a happy
again.
Face. Yes, I gave it a happy face.
Well, here we are with Rasharda Abrams to talk about her newest venture. Well, it's the old venture in a new way of Mary McLeod Bethune. So, well, you take it away, because obviously I can't think or talk right now.
Well, I thank you for having me on again. I appreciate being here with you guys. This is Bethune, Our Black Velvet Rose, and it is the new play that I've written with a 6-actor multiracial cast. And I used my solo play, First by Faith, The Life of Mary McLeod Bethune, as a source material to expand her life with the new show. And we are having such fun. In this show, you'll see Eleanor Roosevelt. You'll see Franklin Delano Roosevelt. These are two luminaries that Mary McLeod Bethune had a lot of interaction with. And she was an advisor to President Roosevelt, and also kind of best friends with Eleanor Roosevelt. So what I've done is taken her from the beginning of her life and matriculated all the way until actually her demise, when she passed. But it's a fun ride because you get a chance to see who she was as a woman, balancing career and family and all that she accomplished in life. And the actors that I have are just wonderful actors. I'm in the actor studio. So I've been workshopping this play in the actor studio since 2020, when we went into the pandemic. And these actors, and actually my directors, well, we were in the playwright and director's workshop at the studio. When I decided to go on and produce this, I wanted to have the actors who, were down there with me in the trenches when I was figuring things out. And I said, how nice would it be to, say, hey, you want the job? And they were available.
Tell us about her accomplishments, because maybe some people live under a rock and don't know who Mary McLeod Bethune is.
Okay. So Mary McLeod Bethune's story is that she was the first person in her family born free after the Emancipation Proclamation. And they weren't allowed to be educated, but then law changed, and then she received education. She went on to found her own university. It's Bethune-Cookman University in Florida, which is still thriving today. And she was so successful in her civil rights work that the presidents of the United States contacted her to work with them. So President Hoover, President Coolidge, and then President Roosevelt, and then President Truman. And she was she was head of the National Youth Administration. This is during President Roosevelt's term. And then she was head of what's called the Black Cabinet, which was a secret body of African-American men and women. Well, actually men, I think she was the only woman in there. She was the leader who advised President Roosevelt during the time of the New Deal. And it was all the things that we enjoy. I mean, she's helped, the African-American community become part of the Red Cross. She was head of so many different organizations, and her organization that she found, well, one of the organizations that she founded that is still thriving today is the National Council of Negro Women. And they're the women that go out into the communities and help the people, and with Mary, during the war, she and Eleanor Roosevelt were very instrumental in getting women involved in the war, right? And the African-American community. So one of the things is Eleanor Roosevelt flew with the Tuskegee Airmen to prove that Negro pilots could fly, right?
Oh.
And when Marian Anderson was denied being able to sing at Constitution Hall with the Daughters of American Revolution because she was Negro, Eleanor Roosevelt and Mary McLeod Bethune made it possible for her to sing at the Lincoln Memorial. And things like that, you know, we don't know who was responsible for certain things, and just family life, making it possible for all children to be educated, making it possible for everyone to have health care. And what's interesting to me is we just, in this year with our President Biden, passed this anti-lynching legislation. They were working on that back then, which I find very interesting. You know, it's like history repeats, but finally that is done, you know. And now, of course, they just had this beautiful statue unveiled at Statuary Hall. And so the premise of the play, even though you have all this history in it, the premise of the play is a young woman who, and I liken her to myself, who was so enamored with Mary McLeod Bethune that she went to the statue to, you know, take pictures in Statuary Hall, like, you know, we all will at some point to say I was there. But then Mary McLeod Bethune's statue comes to life, and then transport her and herself back to 1884 and beyond. So we go on a journey and we get to experience things. And for me, as a dramatist, as an actress, as a communicator, human, you know, I always want to help someone else on their journey. You know, what's the next step? So I figure if you see how someone else did it, well, maybe that'll help you. And I found that with my solo show. You know, we sold out the solo show several times, and National Black Theater Festival got the Adelco for best solo performance of the year, and, you know, other things, you know, best educational show with United Solo Theater Festival. But all of that means a lot. But what meant the most to me is when people came up to me and said, "Thank you for telling me the story. I didn't know about her. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. I see Mary McLeod Bethune in myself. Oh, yeah, yes." And he was having trouble with something, and Mary McLeod Bethune's father told her, "No job is menial. This is a young man who was well educated, and he just needed some time." So he was doing a janitorial position in a school, and his parents were downing him. And he was like, no, I'm doing important work here. And then he can continue whatever way he wants to go. But the point is, it validated his choice, right? So, you know, we all have that inner, I would say, Mary McLeod Bethune in us, right? To go out and make changes, to start with nothing. And for me, you know, this whole journey, I started in 2010, you know, I did a reading and I was playing Mary McLeod Bethune. They was like, "Do your research." And I'm like, "I always do my research." But the more I researched her, I said, why didn't I know about this woman? You know about this woman, that, but why didn't I know about this woman that made these many changes in our lives? So I guess I've dedicated about 12 years of my life now to developing and telling her story. And so this is, someone asked me, that this is like my love letter to Mary McLeod Bethune, thanking her for just for being in this world and making the changes, and not just for African Americans, for everyone. She was a communicator, you know, and on this journey, I found so many people who either knew her or were descendants of people who knew her. Of course, the people who knew her were, you know, up in age, but the descendants of people say, "Oh yeah, I remember my mother told me," and you know, and it's just, and then they talked about how regal she was, and when she spoke, you know, the kids in school stood, you know, sat up straight because it was demanded of them just by her demeanor, you know. So anyway, it's just been a joy. And like I've always said, everything that Mary McLeod did was by faith. And for me, this journey has been by faith. And I just continue. And as I said, hoping that I am giving something to someone. And it doesn't matter what age you are, because there's always something that someone can learn. And it doesn't matter where you come from, because she was a communicator. She had friends all over the world. So that's my, I guess my mission, to continue to illuminate and help where I can.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and thank you so much for coming on. And I can't wait to see it as a play. Not, I mean, I love the one person show, but you know, I'm interested in this version of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
On our last show, we interviewed Mark Wilding, author of Man In Santiago, running at the AMT Theater on West 45th Street through October 28th. I highly recommend seeing this comedic look at American efforts to overthrow Salvador Allende, the elected leftist president of Chile, in the early 1970s. Two CIA agents, played by Nick McDowell-Musley and George Tovar, schemed to kill or at least photograph the dead Allende from a Santiago hotel room, only to be repeatedly interrupted by the Chilean maid, played by Prisciliana Esperolini. The agents are in touch with Nixon and Kissinger, played respectively by Steve Neville and Michael Van Duzer. The play is funny, but not hysterically funny. The audience did not laugh as much as director Charlie Mount probably would have liked. It happened because between jokes, the play deals with very serious subjects, which interrupts the comedic flow. I was quite happy with the play. Our Jan Ewing will be seeing and reviewing it before the end of the month, and I do not see it as a flaw. The somber subjects were fitting. One note, Ms. Esperolini's performance was solid comedic gold. She is an actor to watch. I give it a happy face plus, and Eva, take it away.
Okay, so now here we are with Claudia Terry and Leslie DiLeo, who are proud members, former members of High Drama. Welcome back from Atlanta, Leslie.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back.
And Black Orchid is going strong. And you're doing a three one act play, so we get an abundance of riches this time. I want to hear all the details, all the gory details.
Okay, well, I'll give you some info, and then Claudia, she can certainly chime in or wrap up. Well, Black Orchid Theater Group, we've been around for X number of years. I think Claudia can fill that in, but we've done a lot of shows in the past 7 years. That's how long I've been associated with the group. And so our kickoff presentation is going to be October 14th, 15th, and 16th. The umbrella title is Tonight at 8.
And so the first one is Blind Date by Horton Foote. And it's about a blind date, but in the 1950s in somebody's house. She's trying to get her niece married. And it's a comedy, and I'm directing it. And actually why we chose it was because it's sort of in the 1950s. It's an early one of his plays, placed in this, actually possibly even earlier. And there's this grumpy girl who doesn't want to get married. And I'm going, it's like, there was always the grumpy girls who just wanted to do their own thing. Like, yeah.
I have fun.
So, and then we have What the State Forbids, which is a look at, it was written in 1915. And I'm blanking on the playwright's name, but I have her name right here. Please hold. Saida Cowan. And there's two parts to it. The first is in 1905, and the second part is in 1915. And it's about abortion and conscription. So it's really a lot of fun. Yes, and about what the state does around those sort of things. The draft and abortion and people's rights over their own bodies.
Very much in the news right now.
Oh, yes, very timely and frighteningly so.
Mm.
And then Leslie, if you want to take the last one.
Absolutely. And then the third show is a comedy called Frankie's Hanky. And both Claudia and I are in this show. And it's a play about 4 friends at the wake of their 5th friend. And they're each waiting to hear who's going to inherit Frank Sinatra's handkerchief that he tossed to one of them back in the days of the Paramount Theater. So it's all the conversation and negotiating and defending who should get the hanky and why each character feels she should get the hanky. So it's pretty funny and lighthearted, but touching too. And Kristen Hardwick, who you know also is in this show. And so it's going to be really good. So we loved the idea, and this really was Craig's idea of sandwiching a more serious and timely play amidst 2 comedies. So yeah, and we're working deep in rehearsal now, and everything's going really well. And it's so great to be back together again. We did do a play, A Bad Year for Tomatoes. Claudia, did we do that right after the pandemic was slowing down?
When things were opening up, but the audience still had to wear masks. So that
Yes,
was last.
okay.
That was last fall. And then technical issues. We were hoping to do more, but technical issues kind of make it difficult right now. But we're happy to be back in the theater. And yeah, and there's going to be a lot of return people and some new people at Black Orchid. I'm directing for the first time. Craig Hutchinson is directing the other two. And John Arco is the playwright for Frankie's Hanky. And he's had this done in a few places, but he's a local person. So hopefully one evening he'll be there if you have questions for him. And it's a lot of fun. We have I'm in 2 of them. There's a few of us who are overlapping in more than one project. So that's going to be fun for us.
Each of the plays will be adjudicated by the Theater Association of New York State. And so that's a good thing. And we participate in that organization, and we've won a variety of awards. Claudia has won acting awards. Craig has won directing awards. Other people, I've won an acting award. So we're quite involved in that. And so we're really proud of that. And that's just another feather in our cap. So we are looking forward to welcoming back our audience and our critics as well.
Yay! And I'm sure you've decided what wig and what makeup to wear that's making everyone angry.
No sparkles, no sparkles. So great. Well, thank you, Eva, for having us on. It's been so much fun.
I'm glad it worked out. My God, the timing of this.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Eva is caught in Jewish high holiday land today, so I'm going to sign out. Our next show is October 22nd, when we'll be featuring more reviews and upcoming events. In the meantime, check out our Facebook page for reviews of shows that are closed and even more upcoming events. And for an early look at this show, check out our YouTube channel by searching for Eva Heinemann, where you'll get extras like full interviews of artists who have been unable to join us today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Thank you.